Child protection in decentralized law. Protection is a service, as is law, and when it is monopolized, its quality is at higher risk of declining, because the incentives to provide quality service and strive for excellence are lessened when they are paid automatically, regardless of performance, without competition, through money taken by force. Competition of services gives a healthy incentive to each of the competing service providers to improve and model after the good innovations and practices they see in their competition. This helps each of the competitors to be humble enough to adopt best practices, and give their customers high satisfaction. Unfortunately, child protection is a service that has been monopolized, and has therefore been a hazard to life quality for many families and children. Monopolized services in general are not nearly as interested in improving as they are in maintaining monopoly and flexing power. Because of the deprioritization of improvement and the prioritization of things like policies, procedures, technicalities, legalities, rank, office, and that which comes from thinking that the system being implemented is optimal out of all possibilities, there is not much or any improvement in these services. When there is only one source of child protection, there is only one way most things are done, which implicitly asserts that the way things are done is optimal. This flawed, arrogant stance of superiority to all other possibilities on the part of law monopolies is also destructive to families and the option to grow together instead of fall apart. Because governments do not suffer the consequences of the decisions they forcefully impose, they are not interested in mutually beneficial outcomes for those involved. In decentralized law, providing mutual benefit will be one of many qualities for which an organization handling these cases will strive. Improvement is the side effect of open and free competition of services. Monopolization of the service of child protection, or any other service, is a sure way to low quality, mistreatment, mishandling of cases, poor decisions, and non-solutions. Supervised living as a family might be a better intervention than splitting up a family. It might be better to educate parents instead of punish them. It may be more helpful to give guidance and explanations than it is to incriminate and condemn. In law monopoly, we cannot well know what will be better ways to handle situations, because alternatives are largely disallowed. In decentralized law, the alternatives are encouraged, and innovations are what drive success. When options are allowed, reputations build from the quality of results produced. In law monopoly, the reputation of the protection service is not much considered, as it is the only option available. The quality of their work and how they treat people is not given a lot of thought, because there is a general sense in people that this is all there is and all that should be. The best of possibilities are better found by open competition to find them. None are so mentally well equipped that they can predict the optimal functionality of even one branch of law services, yet governments think they have the optimal functionality of every branch of law services. What shows to be most optimal through the test of time only shows because there is competition of ideas and solutions, all of which can be studied and tested as they emerge in competition of law. That government procedures have some level of effectiveness or reliability does not make them the time-tested optimal method by any means whatsoever. It does not require too much imagination to suppose that what has yet to emerge is better than the broken law system we see in governments today, especially around their handling of child protection efforts. The authority approach is one that has caused vast human suffering throughout the ages, and the same is true of the use of this approach in child protection services today. Authority over others is not only fiction promoted through mass delusion, but also a blinder to actual solutions that mutually benefit those involved. Because morality is the discipline of avoiding hindrance to lives, society must not be built up on systems that function on authority, might, and power, rewarding the mere handling of situations regardless of how many lives such handling hinders. Decentralized law is a non-system, and as such has no central command, but is much better because of this, due to having many more checks and balances, and being invulnerable to the power-seeking of immoral individuals. The approach of decentralized law, which can be just as accurately called free market law, is to provide solutions for which there is voluntary agreement reached. The inclination to resort readily to the use of force is a side effect of the authority approach. In a civilization that has decentralized law and therefore a prioritization of non-aggression, the eager use of force is not incentivized, and is in fact disincentivized through the many dynamics that make up free market reputability. The voluntary approach is the one used in decentralized law. Child protection is very serious. The way in which it gets done will have drastic effects into the future. Children, being future adults who are being shaped by what is happening to them and around them, are in need of various solutions that compete for public favor and empirical validation rather than the assertion that one government department has the right way of handling all cases. Parents are just children who aged more, and may not have learned what they needed to know prior to becoming parents. This is likely true of most parents. In some cases, there is perhaps not a parent willing to revise their habits and develop themselves to the point of being a responsible and loving parent. In many cases, perhaps, the parent can acquire the desire, hope and ability to change through methods and treatments not currently in use today by our law monopolies. It seems all too true that law monopolies fail to remember the chilling fact that none of us are above behaving in the same way that any person behaves, if we were to have lived with the variables that they have lived. Some parents come from terrible backgrounds and have unresolved pain and suffering within. Some have misunderstandings and misconceptions that shape their disharmonious behaviors. Rather than incriminate and punish underdevelopment, it may likely be the endeavor to help and educate parents who do not know what they need to know. This is decentralized law, which has competing ideas, and while some ideas may last a while, the market decides which ideas will be the ones that remain standing in this free market setting. Ethics in how these cases are handled would be established as they are today, but perhaps with much more refined conduct, because of the many checks and balances in decentralized law, organizations and individuals being able to make a case or complaint for any types of abuses or neglects, and reputation being so critical for favorable profits. Because there would be competing ethical theories rather than just the dictated ethics of one source, the conversation would continue to refine the handling of cases throughout the law industry. How child protection will be funded in decentralized law is up for anyone to guess, but there are many different ways that such things would be funded in a free civilization. Law service providers might have this service included in their insurance packages, allowing both the defense of allegations and the making of allegations to open a case for child protection. For this to be bundled in with other law services may become commonplace, but other ways to fund these services are abundant. Charities and volunteers are obvious sources of providing these efforts, but children's organizations, schools, and any type of group that works to aid children or teens may have vested interests in this protection. It may be that services such as these are funded through shopping centers or online commerce, like advertisements. It may be that there is funding set up from just the interest on investments. The concern of how these services will be funded in a civilization that does not justify taxation is an unnecessary worry due to the vast number of ways anything can get funding. We have much need for improvement. Human potential must not be capped by monopolization of something so paramount in the lives of everyone as the industry of law. The limits imposed on commerce and finance alone are so drastic as to justify immense dissatisfaction by all who are aware of these limiting effects. Law is a service, not a right to power. Market democracy instead of central planning is where we will realize much greater potential.